know us better as the Red Arrows. It's our great pleasure to be here at Bournemouth in 2011. Those of you who were here last year will remember the terrible weather, rather like yesterday to be honest, and there was very little flying by anybody. I think we managed a total of 5 minutes in front of you here at Bournemouth in 2010. Not so today. This is beautiful weather and you're going to see a full show. You're going to see 24 minutes of fast jet close formation aerobatics out over the water here by the Royal Air Force's aerobatic team. Now Red 1 Squadron Leader Ben Murphy prides himself on timely arrival, and he's due here at exactly hour, which is 2 minutes from now. So anybody with an accurate watch can keep an eye on the time and see how Red 1 does. He likes to be to the second, and perhaps to be a little bit later, a little bit earlier. You can let me know, and I'll go and tell him how you thought he did. I'm easy to find. I'm the chap in the red flying suit, and it's quite hard to blend in one of these in an audience like this. Now, he just called me on the radio, so I'll have a quick chat and talk to you in just a second.
Right. I want to go to the tanker, is it?
Well, Red 1 tells me he's running 15 seconds early, which more or less ruins everything I just said about timely arrival. So we'll keep an eye out for him. 20 seconds or so then, based on that timing. Now, we're not leading the Royal Air Force's representatives. We are the representatives of Great Britain. So, ladies and gentlemen, we hope to fly a bit of red, white and blue over the sea here and make you all feel very patriotic. And true to his word, 50 seconds early, with red, white and blue smoke, here's the Red Arrows. Okay, the aircraft at the front there, as they pull up now, is Red 1 Squadron Leader Ben Murphy. He's the team leader, has been for 2 years, but it's actually his 5th consecutive year on the team this year. Baz, as we know him, used to fly as one of the team pilots, Reds 2 to 9, for the first 3 years. And then he stayed on to be the team leader. The only man to have done 5 consecutive years with the Red Arrows before him, that I know of anyway, is Ray Hanna, very well known in flying display circles. And he was instrumental in founding the Red Arrows. He led the team for 4 years in the mid-1960s. Back to Red 1, Baz though. He's a former Harrier GR7 pilot with the Royal Air Force, having served with 1, 4 and 20 squadrons. His operational service was seen over Iraq and over Afghanistan, where we provide close air support to the young men and women of the British forces on the ground there, who you all know work in some extremely difficult circumstances. So Baz is a very skilled pilot then, but he's also a pretty skilled kite surfer, and today there's probably enough wind to get a kite up to 15 knots or so on the water here at Bournemouth, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind giving it a go. During our spring training in Cyprus at RAF Red Arrows, he actually reached a pretty decent stand on his kite there. Okay, on the right there then, you can see Big Vixen's formation. It's one of our widest formations. And the wide formations are difficult for the pilots on the outside extremities of the shape. One of those is Red 9. Red 9 is the left wingtip of our Big Vixen formation. The nearest aircraft to us, if you like, and that's Flight Lieutenant Zane Sennett, one of the 3rd-year pilots on the team, therefore one of the most experienced. So that was Red 1's voice calling for the team to roll. Zane's the lowest aircraft we can see now. He's not only rolling with Red 1, he's pitching forward, he's back on the throttle, and he's using lots of right rudder to maintain that formation position. So it's difficult on the outside, and that's why we put the 3rd-year pilots in those sort of positions. Now, in the second half of the show, I'm fairly confident we'll get to see the famous Red Arrow's heart. The weather looks good enough. And it's Zane who puts the arrow through our heart. So if you like, Zane is our Cupid. He's one of the single members of the team, and we're really starting to worry now that he really does think he's Cupid. But moving on swiftly, the team are now changing to swan formation. The 2 wings of the swan are sliding back down its neck, and that will make up this large and wide formation. Being large and wide, therefore, there are some positions where the pilots are quite a long way from Red 1. And in those positions, it's generally considered it's the most difficult to maintain your formation position accurately. So again, we put the experienced pilots in there. We keep the new guys a bit closer in, and one of the new guys this year, in his 1st year with the team, is Red 2, just to the left of the neck of the swan as we look at them now. So here we are then, Swan pulling up. Red 2, sitting just to the left of the neck of the Swan, is Chris Lyndon Smith, known to us as Smiley on the team, one of the team's former Tornado GR4 pilots. Smiley was born in Kitwe, Zambia, but he grew up for the first 10 years of his life in South Africa, between Cape Town and Johannesburg, and I presume he spent many of his days wrestling white rhinos on the Kruger National Park. But right now he's moved forward to make the right wing, if you like, as I seem to have coined the phrase, of this formation which is called Typhoon, named after the Royal Air Force's newest fighter aircraft, the Eurofighter Typhoon. So that was Typhoon. Now I mentioned that Red 1 was a good kite surfer, well so is Red 2. In fact, Smiley is a Level 2 British Kite Surfing Association instructor. Whatever that means, but I believe it makes him quite good. I've certainly seen him get his kite airborne. Although for him the most worrying thing is that he reckons he's better than Red 1. And of course, on the team we all think that could be pretty damaging for his career. So good luck, Smiley, with that claim to fame. Now as the team manoeuvre out there on the right hand side, you'll see the smoke of Reds 4 and 5 come on as they change to Apollo formation. That's Red 5 acknowledging the change there. Gives me a chance to tell you a little bit about how we fly close formation. Traditionally, you look at the lead aircraft intently and react to his or her movements. Well, if we did that in a big formation like ours, there'd be a little bit of human delay in everybody's control inputs. And everybody would be manoeuvring a little bit after Red 1, and that would make our formation look bowed. So we initiate all of our formation manoeuvres by Red 1's voice command. So let's have a listen to that as you watch the Apollo Twister. So you hear the words there, and roll. He emphasises the word roll, and on the R of roll, all of the pilots put in their control inputs, and that's how we fly a perfect Apollo Twister. And I told you we were patriotic, or if I didn't, we are. And here's some beautiful red, white, and blue over the beaches of Bournemouth as you see the Apollo Twister. Now as they fly the second half of this manoeuvre, the lowest aircraft that we can see in the back left of Apollo formation there is Red 5. And Red 5 is Flight Lieutenant Kirsty Stewart. Kirsty's the first ever female Red Arrow pilot. Girls, you can give her a cheer. She's in her second year with the team this year. Yeah, and a round of applause, why not? She's in her second year with the team this year, and she was inspired to become a pilot by her father. Her father used to fly Tornado GR1s, and he served operationally during Gulf War I in 1991. That was over Iraq, of course. She really has followed her father's footsteps because she too flew the Tornado. For her though, the Tornado GR4, she too has served operationally over Iraq. Much more recently, of course. Kirsty's also been a flying instructor on the Hawk, the same aircraft we fly in the Red Arrows. What we used to teach our future fast jet pilots, and you today see another female pilot display one, Jules Thurston earlier on. But Kirsty is also a great sportswoman. She loves rock climbing, mountain biking, and she does a lot of mountain biking, and finally we're hoping this year she's going to take the stabilizers off her bike. Okay, as they're running towards us now, they're in flanker formation, and Reds 4 and 5 roll to the back here and make eagle formation as they pull up at 4G. So as they go over the top here, Red 1 twists with formation and they reach a mile above us there. And the aircraft that's nearest to us, in the back left of that formation, or the top left of that formation as we see them, is Red 4. And that's Flight Lieutenant John Egging, the second of our new pilots on the team this year. We call him Eggman. We've never been very good at nicknames in the Air Force. And he joins us from the Harrier Force. I'm sure many of you know that the Royal Air Force's Harrier fleet has recently been retired from service. A very active and successful force it was though, and his most recent operational experience was all in Afghanistan. Eggman served out there with Happy Force Squadron, as it was known, before being disbanded recently. And Eggman's also been a flying instructor on the Hawk at Orient Valley, rather like Kirsty. Eggman's a pretty good runner actually, he does a lot of training with his wife Emma, who's a vet. But on the team we're all pretty sure she's quite a lot faster than him. And of course we spent plenty of time reminding him of that. Okay, the next manoeuvre you're going to see is a new one for the team. Well, it's certainly never been flown this way before anyway. It's called the whirlwind. The formation shape is diamonds, and one of the aviation photographers who's part of the furniture at the Red Arrows is a man called E.J. Van Koningsveld. He's been photographing the team and flying with us for 20 years, and he reckons the whirlwind is great. Well, I agree with him, and he's a bit of an authority on the subject. You can be the judges today here at Bournemouth, though, as you watch the whirlwind. Simultaneously spot rolling to the left. As you can imagine, they all lose sight of each other for about a second and a half during that manoeuvre, during that roll. And of course that requires complete trust between those 9 pilots. Well, the trust we need to be able to do that kind of manoeuvre is built up through our 6-month winter training period. All the way through the winter and spring we spend our time flying 3 times a day, 5 days a week to build up the trust we need and also the precision and skill to put on the standard of display that you, the British public, expect of us throughout our summer display season. Okay, the aircraft are high on the left-hand side, setting up for the final manoeuvre of the first half of the show. This is called the Diamond Chicane, a very graceful manoeuvre, and it gives me time to talk about Red 3. Red 3 flies just to the left-hand side of the leader, so just to the right of him and slightly below him as we look at them now. And Red 3 this year is the final of our new pilots on the team this year, Flight Lieutenant Sean Cunningham, another Tornado GR4 pilot. His frontline service completed with 617 Squadron, the famous Downbusters Squadron, now based at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland. Sean was also born South Africa, like Spidey at Red 2. Although we don't think they ever crossed paths in those early days. Now, Sean is a great pilot. He's also a bit of a car buff, and he loves his cars. He's probably, by his own admission, a bit of a car geek. Well, he drives a very nice Porsche 911 Carrera S. Now, of course, he tells us that he bought that car because it's a great car to drive, although on the team we think otherwise. He's the second single man on the team, and we're pretty sure he bought that just to try and impress the girls. Well, he won't thank me for saying that, so I'll get on with the rest of the commentary. Okay, that's the end of the first half of the show. You've seen all of our graceful flying, all of the 9 pilots and the 9 aircraft in one big graceful formation. What we do in the second half of the show is spice it up a little bit. So Red 1 is calling the team now into Phoenix formation, ready to split the formation down. We split it into 2. The front 5 aircraft are known as Enid. Red 1 to 5 are known as Enid, after Enid Blyton's famous 5. So, mums and dads, you can tell the youngsters who Enid Blyton was and who the famous 5 were. And the back 4 aircraft, Reds 6 to 9, are known as Dippos. And Enid and Dippos swap in and out with each other throughout the second half of the show. I'll keep you looking in the right directions. We'll start it off with the palm split. Let's have a listen to the radio. Certainly here the pilots are enjoying it, and there's the palm tree making the palm split. But we're left on the right hand side, just switching on his smoke, Red 6. That's Flight Lieutenant Dave Montenegro over there, known as Monty, and born in Bogota, Colombia. He's the synchro leader this year. Chasing him down on that side is Red 9, Flight Lieutenant Zane Sennett. Remember, Zane's our Cupid. On the left hand side with his smoke on is Red 7. Red 7 is Benjamin Plank, he's known as Planky, that's him with his smoke on there, coming down to 100 feet. And behind him is Red 8, Dave Davis, from North Wales. Together these 4 aircraft are known as Jippo, and this is the Jippo Pass. So that's Jippo introducing himself Jippo pass. Now on the left-hand side, there's white smoke on. That's Monty again, synchro leader. He's now with Red 7 making up the synchro pair, and he's about to call a turn reversal in this, the Cyclone. That's the turn call. They're going to cross right in front of us. So synchro finish one manoeuvre and they hand over to Red 8 on the left-hand side. Here he is, Flight Lieutenant Dave Davis, known on the team as Horse. He's our Welsh representation. Now Horse is lining up with Enid from the right in a manoeuvre called the Goose. He pulls up vertically 7G here. We get the red, white, and blue smoke on again. Very British. As he watched the Goose. So it was Red 8 Horse who climbed vertically there. Horse in the former Tornado F3 pilot. That's one of the aircraft that used to provide the UK's operational air defence and that of the Falklands before being replaced by the Typhoon. And on the left-hand side there's Enid in a steep climb. We call this manoeuvre the steep climb. Okay, I know it's not a great name for the manoeuvre. In fact, a young man, I think it was this air show last year, told me that as they push over at the top there, it looks a little bit like a cobra's neck. So maybe we should call this manoeuvre the Cobra. Okay, Enid to finish, the synchro pair are back. 7's on the left, 6 is on the right. They're running in with 800 miles an hour closure here. They're going to pass just 35 meters from each other in a manoeuvre called the Carousel. Here they go. Now Monty is on the left-hand side. It's his job as the synchro leader to fly a steady 6G turn here. Clancy, crossing him now, switching to blue smoke, has the job of avoiding him. So he's not only pulling 6G, he's got his beady eyes right over there on Red 6 to make sure they get this, the carousel, just right. Here's the final pass. So as you're learning, when synchro finish, or Jippo finishes, they hand over to Enid. Now Enid are running in from the left-hand side, somewhere out there over the white cliffs. You see that smoke come on? They're in Vixen formation, reds 1 to 5. They're going to pull up shortly. So red 1 starts the pull up. It's about 4G here. Now the smoke you see is provided by diesel, regular road diesel, the same kind of diesel you have in your car. Or you have to stolen your actual diesel, don't worry. And it's injected into the engine exhaust that makes that smoke trail. And of course we dye the diesel red and blue to achieve those colours. So a mile above us is Enid all together for the vertical brake. So red 1 calls for the brake, and they split very gracefully. Now even though they're separated, they're all still staring across at red 1, cross-checking their altimeters to make sure they maintain that perfect fan spread out of the vertical brake. So Enid is finished. We need to look it down to the right, just approaching over sandbanks there. Jippo, one of my favourite manoeuvres of the show this. Red 6 and 7 are upside down in close formation. 8 and 9 are barrel rolling around their smoke trails. This is, probably you can tell why, this is called the corkscrew. So that's a very enthusiastic voice of Red 9, Dave Sennett, our Cupid, telling Red 6 he's complete with the corkscrew, and 6 rolls around there on the left-hand side. Smoke's shortly going to go off, and they're going to hand over to Enid. I love the corkscrew. You can imagine how difficult it is doing close formation aerobatics close to the sea the right way up. Well, imagine how difficult it is doing it upside down. It's Red 7 who really earns my respect in that manoeuvre. Well, Enid are approaching from the right-hand side. They're stepping down now into line of stern. They're stacked down from top to bottom, reds 1 through 5. That means that Kirsty, red 5, is at the bottom. She's really struggling to see red 1 at the top there. She's looking through 3 other aircraft to judge her formation position. This is an extremely difficult manoeuvre to fly. aircraft fly on the right-hand side of the display, and the odd numbers fly on the left, but they're the other way around at the moment. We've got 3 and 5 on the right, 2 and 4 on the left, and we need to swap them back. So this is the clever part of this manoeuvre. And that cross there gives it its name, the slalom. And believe me, for them to cross through line of stern like that, so close together, requires complete precision and, of course, more trust between the pilots. And I fly with the team a lot during the training season, so I've seen that manoeuvre from in cockpit many times, and it's even pretty eye-watering for me to watch. Okay, the red, white and blue is back on, as he did complete for you the slalom. Okay, so the next manoeuvre takes place out to the front, probably between the two ships. You're looking for Ditto who are running in towards us. First you'll see their headlights, and then surely there's smoke. There they are, 8 and 9 are rolling around 6 and 7. The synchro pair roll. This is the amazing Ditto break. Times now, with no exaggeration, and it never ceases to amaze me. The aircraft look, they're inches apart, don't they? But actually, there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors in there, so don't worry. Okay, the synchro pair are with us. On the right, there's Monty, Red 6. As I said, born in Bogota, Colombia, but he grew up in Beckenham, Kent. And he went to Elaine School there. He's got a degree in politics and theology, a clever man. And he used to fly the Tornado F3, like Horse, a former air defence aircraft of the Royal Air Force. He's in his 3rd year in the team this year, the synchro leader, and making a great job of this manoeuvre, the double roll. So the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that the air brakes are out during that manoeuvre. It's done for 2 reasons. With the air brake out, of course, the pilots must fly with more power on, and that makes a better smoke trail. But it also changes the shape of the barrel roll and makes it look tighter and more performed. So the synchro pair slingshot to the front, you look out to the left, and here comes Enid. For one of my favourite manoeuvres, these are rollbacks. The inside guys roll around the outside guys, who shuffle up to fill the gap. Technically, this is an extremely difficult manoeuvre to fly, and of course to practice. Believe it or not, that was Kirsty, Red 5, telling the boss she's complete with rollbacks in a very masculine way. Now, if you ask the pilots how do they do that, well, they'll probably just tell you they pull and roll as hard as they dare. It's a difficult manoeuvre to fly. Okay, we need to look out to the front so you can see the 2 headlights of Red 6 and 7. That's Monty giving the command to Red 7 for this next famous manoeuvre. I don't think I need to tell you what it is, but of course this is the famous Red Arrows heart. It gives me a chance to dedicate it to the Wessex Cancer Trust, who are raising money for cancer research, and they're based in Key West restaurant at the end of the pier, at the Western Pier, doing great work for charity. So the Wessex Cancer Trust, the heart today is for you. Okay, the red smoke doesn't persist very long, but it does leave us with the synchro pair. Red 7 is on the left, with his smoke on, turning in towards Red 6 on the right. Red 7 is Benjamin Plank, known as Planky, one of the youngest members of the team, strangely though one of the baldest, but certainly one of the funniest pilots on the team. Former Harrier pilot with operational service in Afghanistan under his belt. Also a former flying instructor as well. This is the opposition barrel roll. Well, that's the synchro pair's final manoeuvre together. If you liked what they were doing, give them a big clap and a cheer. Sure they'll be able to hear you. Thank you very much. But as you do so, look out. to sea between the two ships once again, and you should be able to pick up the main formation running in towards us for the finale of our show here today at Bournemouth. The main formation, Reds 1 to 5 with 8 and 9, are running in now for the Vixen break. Here they are on the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, putting the Union flag above Bournemouth, the very British Red Arrows. Well, that's the end of our display here at Bournemouth today. You may or may not be aware I was really struggling with my radios there to speak to the team. Hope it didn't spoil what I was saying and you could understand what was going on. You can see the pilots rejoining out to the front there. Red 1 has his smoke on. That's to allow all the other pilots to easily find him and safely join aboard. And as you can see, they're coming in from all angles. On the left, with his smoke on, Red 6, Monty, with his smoke on to allow Red 7, who's coming from the right, to join. Very shortly, they'll be landing back at Bournemouth Airport, where the Blades are just getting airborne. All former Red Arrows pilots. They're going to put on another fantastic display for you, the same standard that we, the Red Arrows, put on here as well today. I'm about to hand over to Clippy for that in just a moment. So really it just remains for me to say thank you very much for turning out in such great numbers here on the Bournemouth beaches, the cliff tops. Please all just do a little Sundance tonight, and hopefully we can have the same weather for tomorrow and Sunday. And I'll finish off by saying thanks very much, and a very fond farewell and good afternoon to you from the Red Arrows.
Thank you very much indeed from me.